Hey guys, today I have 5 unexplained encounter stories for you to listen to when you're doing homework, falling asleep, or working on any other kind of project. So, anyways, without further ado, let's get into it. Number 1. I think I saw a skinwalker near my cabin, still shaking. Hey everyone, I've never posted here before, but something happened a couple nights ago that I can't explain, and I'm honestly still freaked out. I live alone in a small off-the-grid cabin in northern New Mexico. Closest neighbor is about 10 miles away. I moved out here to get away from everything. The noise, the people, the city. I thought I had finally found peace, until now. So a few nights ago, around 10, I let my dog Juniper out. She's my big, sweet German Shepherd. It was a still night, not much wind, and the stars were out. I was standing on the porch with a flashlight waiting for her to finish, when she suddenly froze. Like statue still, ears up, staring into the tree line. I followed her gaze and saw something. At first, I thought it was a deer, tall and kind of lanky, but I found it moved all wrong. It was kind of hunched weird, and it was crouching funnily over the bushes. Its limbs looked too long to be any normal animal. I shined my light on it, and it bolted back into the woods. It ran like a person instead of an animal, on all twos instead of fours. Juniper started to bark like crazy and went after it, but I called her back and got us inside as fast as I could. Here's the part that really messes with me. About 30 minutes later, as I was just calming down and she had just laid down in her dog bed, I heard a voice outside my front door. Except it was my voice. And I'm not joking. It said, "Juniper, come on girl, come here." My blood ran cold. Juniper started to growl. Her hackles were up and she wouldn't go near the door. Whatever was out there, it sure as hell wasn't me because I was inside. And it sure as hell didn't seem friendly. I didn't sleep at all that night, just sat there with my shotgun next to the bed and every light on the cabin on. The next morning I found tracks outside the door. They looked like humans, but they had weird spacing in between their toes. And it just didn't look right. If you can think about it, more of a mix between a raccoon's foot, a wolf, and a human at the top. I haven't seen anything since. No footprints, no shadows, and no noises, but I'm still rattled. I've been researching, and I keep coming across stories about skinwalkers, which is said to be a Native American folklore, creatures that can mimic voices and take on the forms of animals just to lure you out. I don't know what I heard, and I don't know what I saw, but it definitely wasn't a natural creature. Has anyone experienced anything similar, and should I be worried, and should I move? Anyways, guys, that one is a really interesting story. I like it. Personally, I would move. I mean, even though I love skinwalkers, they're not exactly friendly. So, anyways, on to story number 2. That late night drive still haunts me. Something was in the road. Hey Reddit, I've been debating whether to post this because it gives me chills just thinking about it. This happened about a year ago, but it's burned into my memory like it happened yesterday. So I was driving home from my friend's place around 1:30. I live in a rural part of Pennsylvania, lots of winding roads through forest and dark, open fields, barely any street lights, and very spotty cell service. I know the area quite well, and I've driven it about 100 times, but this night felt off. About 20 minutes into the drives, I noticed my headlights flicker. Not just once, but a couple of times. But then my radio cut out. Total silence. That eerie, too quiet kind of silence that makes your skin crawl. I was coming up on a sharp bend when I saw something in the road. At first, I thought it was a deer. It was crouched over, low to the ground, and pale. But as I got closer, I realized it wasn't an animal. It looked like a person. Thin, bony, long arms, and no clothes. Just a weird, grayish skin. Its head jerked up when my headlights hit it, and I swear to God, its eyes reflected red. It didn't run. It just kind of crawled off the road like a spider, disappearing into the nearby trees. I slammed on the brakes and sat there, gripping the steering wheel. I didn't want to keep going, but I sure as hell knew I wasn't going to get out and investigate. Eventually, I drove past where it had been slowly, windows up and my doors locked, trying not to look into the woods. Here's where it got worse. About 5 minutes later, I glanced in my rearview mirror and saw something dart across the road behind me. No sound, just a blur of movement, something awfully hunched over. I floored it. Made it home in record time, parked crooked in the driveway, and ran inside and locked every door. I stayed up till sunrise waiting for something to tap on my windows, but nothing did. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I had been followed home. I still don't know what I saw. Could have been a sick person, a prankster, or even a hallucination, but it didn't feel human. Whatever it was, it didn't belong out here. Or rather, it probably did belong out there, but not where I was. Haven't since seen it. I don't take the route anymore. I go 30 minutes out of the way if I have to. Anyone else ever seen something like that? I don't believe in monsters, but I don't have a better explanation. Stay safe out there, and if you're driving on roads at a late hour of the night, keep your eyes open, and whatever you do, don't stop. Number 3. I think I encountered a Windigo in the northern woods of Minnesota. So I know how this sounds. I'm not someone who believes in monsters or posts wild stories online, but something happened to me last winter that I haven't been able to explain. It's been eating at me ever since. I don't care if you believe me, I just need to tell someone. So for context, I work in a remote wilderness outfitter in northern Minnesota near Canada's border. Think boundary water territories, dense forests, frozen lakes, and not much else. In December, I was tasked with checking out one of the remote winter cabins to make sure the structure hadn't been damaged during the snowfall. It was supposed to be a quick snowmobile trip in and out. About 2 hours into the woods, my engine sputtered and died. Great. I was miles from the nearest ranger station with the sun setting at 4:30 and the temperature dropping fast. I had emergency gear, so I figured I'd bunk in the cabin overnight and fix the shed in the morning. I walked to the cabin about 45 minutes. Halfway there, I started to notice how quiet everything was. Like, deathly still. No birds, no wind, no wildlife. Not even the crunching of snow underneath my boots sounded right. Then I got that feeling. That being watched feeling. At first, I chucked it up to nerves. Then, I saw the tracks. They weren't mine. They did look human, barefoot, but just a little too long, and the heels were relatively narrow. And they weren't frozen. Whatever had made them had only been passing through about moments before. When I finally got to the cabin, it was just getting dark. I locked the door behind me and started a fire and tried to shake the unease. I told myself it was just an animal, maybe a weird trick of the snow. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to scratching on the back wall, then a voice. It sounded like my brother, who lived hundreds of miles away. It said my name in this weird, slow, drawn-out voice. Chris, open the door. It's me. I didn't move. I just sat there in my sleeping bag, paralyzed. The fire was nearly dead, and I didn't hear footsteps, just scratching. Then something giggled, and I'm not kidding, like a low, childlike giggle, but it was warped. Like it didn't understand how humans were supposed to sound. Eventually it stopped. I stayed awake for a little bit, and then finally went to bed. When I finally stepped outside, I found more of those prints circling the cabin. At one point, they climbed the wall, right up to the window. I managed to get the sled running and got out there that morning, and I haven't been back. When I told one of the older guys that I worked with what happened, he got really quiet, and then he asked, "Did it speak in a voice you recognized?" I said yes. He didn't say anything else, just gave me a look and said, "Next time, don't answer." That's when I started researching. The closest thing I've ever found is a Windigo, and it's cannibalistic spirit mimicking voices associated with winter and isolation. Sounds fun. I don't know what I encountered out there, but it probably wasn't a human. And I know it wanted me to open that frickin' door. Anyways, on to story 4. And this one is actually a really popular monster. If you've ever heard of the Beast of Bray Road, this is what this fourth story is about. Anyways, let's get into it. I think I saw the Beast of Bray Road, and I'm not a believer in this stuff. I'm not one for urban legends or cryptid stories. I've always thought Bigfoot sightings were just misidentified bears and goatman stories were campfire entertainment. But after that night, I started to believe. I had just spent the last weekend just outside Elkhorn, Wisconsin, and I'm questioning everything. My girlfriend and I were driving back from visiting our grandparents in Lake Guinevere. It was a little past 11 on a Saturday night, and we decided to take the back roads to avoid construction on the main highway. That meant heading down Bray Road. She mentioned the legend half-jokingly, saying, "Watch out for the beast." I quickly laughed it off. We even pulled over once so that she could get a picture of the old road sign. About 10 minutes later, while going around a bend at maybe 40 miles per hour, we both saw something crouched on the side of the road. At first, I thought it was a really big dog, but as we got closer, it stood up, kind of rearing on its hind legs like a horse. But it was more like it was standing. Upright on two legs, definitely at least 6 feet tall, maybe more. Its body looked muscular, but it was a little hunched over at the shoulders, like it wasn't meant to be standing like that. Its eyes reflected in the headlights, a deep orange-red color. Its head, swear to God, it looked like a wolf. Long snout, pointed ears, thick fur. It stood there for a second, watching us pass, no fear, no flinch, like it just wanted to see us. We didn't say a word until we were a few miles down the road, both just staring ahead, hearts pounding. Finally, I said, "Did you see that?" She nodded. "I don't think that was a dog." We didn't turn around. We didn't stop. We drove right down the rest of the way in silence. I know what skeptics will say. It was a bear, a trick of the light, a hoax. But I know what I saw. It walked on two legs. It had hands, not paws. And it watched us with intelligence, like a person. Like it knew we were out of place. I looked it up later, and everything matches. Sightings going back to the 80s all along that same stretch of road. The creature people described is exactly what we saw. I'm not saying it was a werewolf or a demon or whatever, but it wasn't any normal animal I've ever seen. And I've lived in the Midwest my whole life. I haven't been able to sleep right since. I keep dreaming about those eyes, just staring, unblinking. Anyone else ever seen anything out there? Is there a logical explanation? Because I'm struggling to find one. I love that story so much. Yay. I freaking love anything about popular, kind of out there creatures. Skinwalkers are relatively popular, but the Beast of Bray Road, I watched a documentary on it once, and it was so much fun. I loved the visuals, and I am trying to work on that in my videos, as you can probably tell from the editing and previous parts of this video. But anyways, we'll get into our last story. And let's go. I think I saw a skinwalker take my dog when I was a kid. I've never really talked about this outside my family, but something reminded me of it recently, and I can't stop thinking about it. Maybe someone here has experienced something similar or can help me make sense of it. I've tried to rationalize it for years, but nothing ever quite adds up. When I was around 10, we lived in a rural area in northern Arizona, close to the Navajo reservation. My dad worked as a park ranger, and we had a little house surrounded by desert and juniper trees, isolated but very peaceful. My best friend in the world was our dog Bandit, a mutt, mostly Australian Shepherd, smart as hell, and loyal. He slept on my bed every night and followed me like a shadow. One night, Bandit started growling at the back door around 2. I got up, thinking maybe it was a coyote or a bobcat, but when I looked outside, I didn't see anything, just desert and moonlight. But still, my dog was on edge. His hackles were raised, and a low growl came from his throat. He never acted like that, and my dad told me not to worry, and I pulled him away from the door. The next morning, Bandit was gone. No open doors, no broken fence, just gone. We searched for days. I called his name until my throat hurt. We found paw prints near the edge of the property leading into the bush, and then nothing, like he had vanished into thin air. A few days later, things got weirder. At night, I'd hear scratching at the windows around 2 or 3. My parents said it was probably a raccoon or something, but Bandit used to scratch in that exact way when he wanted to come inside. One night, I heard it again. This time, it was followed by a voice. It said, "Let me in." It sounded almost like my dad, but flat. No emotion, no human resonance in it at all. Like someone was trying to pretend to be him, but was not quite getting his voice right. I didn't move, just pulled the covers over my head and stayed perfectly still. The next morning, I told my mom and she got really quiet. She told me not to open the front door, or any door, if I ever heard anything again. Then she burned sage around the house and left salt at the windows. Later that year, an old neighbor, a Navajo man called Henry, came over and talked to my dad. I was supposed to be asleep, but I heard bits of the conversation, something about tracks that didn't belong and something wearing a dog's face. That stuck with me. Years later, I asked my dad if he really thought a skinwalker had taken Bandit. He didn't answer right away. Then he just said, whatever it was that came to the door that night, it wasn't your dog. I still dream about Bandit sometimes. I hear scratching at my windows. Sometimes I even hear my name. But I never answer. So guys, that's it for those 5 stories. I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned because I will have other short and other encounters for you guys to listen to with whatever you're doing. Thank you for viewing, and I hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe if you want to see more content. Have a good day.